This is Ewan Mackenzie and you're watching Sporting Icons.
Okay, so the current WBA regular World Heavyweight Champion and now WBA mandatory challenger to Oleksandr Usyk's WBA Super Heavyweight World title, Daniel Dubois, has spoken about the Oleksandr Usyk fight. And as we know, he's not going to be stepping aside. Anyway, this is what he had to say. Why not go for the big one now? I'm 100% going for it, and I believe I can knock Usyk out. I'll beat him with just speed, belief, youth and strength. He's never faced a fighter like me or been hit by a fighter like me. I think I can knock him out and bring them belts back. Triple D's statement, Daniel Dubois. Now, firstly, a lot of fighters say that how their next opponent have never faced an opponent like me. I mean, I'm pretty sure in the 300-400 amateur fights that Oleksandr Usyk has had before, he would have faced somebody like a Daniel Dubois. There's not too much he wouldn't have seen, if anything. But I'm glad that Daniel Dubois speaks this way, because you have to have that self-belief. All fighters do, otherwise you're losing before you walk into the ring. Of course, Daniel Dubois will not be the favourite for this fight. Of course he wouldn't. But he does have a chance. Of course he has a chance. Firstly, he's a heavyweight. Secondly, he punches very, very hard. He does have knockout power, as a lot of heavyweights do. But Daniel Dubois can't be totally written off, but you sure as heck wouldn't put money on it that you couldn't afford to lose. Of course, now Usyk is going to be the overwhelming favourite in this one, where a lot of people will be picking Oleksandr Usyk to pretty much steamroll him. But never say never. This is the beauty of the heavyweight division. But one thing I like about Daniel Dubois is that he doesn't really turn down challenges. I say really, he doesn't turn down challenges, does he? I can't recall a fight that he's been offered that he said no to. I can't. He took on Joe Joyce, looking back, way too early on in his career, but he still did it. And yes, Frank Warren, and as I've said for the past year or so, Frank Warren has played an absolute blinder with Daniel Dubois. He has, ever since he lost to Joe Joyce. The fact that he got him into that position to fight Bogdan Dinu for the number one in the WBA to go take on Trevor Bryan. I mean, these are two guys that, to be honest with you, a lot of novices would beat. They would. But at the same time, Daniel Dubois, he's a very, very brave lad. And he will do what he can to make this fight happen. Now, because he's WBA mandatory challenger, that would mean that the split is already predetermined. Okay, so there shouldn't be any kind of contractual debate, disputes or anything like that. Unless, of course, Frank Warren is refusing to give a split to Oleksandr Usyk, as per the rules, and just try and offer him a flat fee or however it may be, which he may do. Then, of course, if they don't get the fight agreed within a certain period, then it can go to a purse bid. At that point, all promoters around the world can bid for this particular fight. But ultimately, Daniel Dubois isn't going to turn down the challenge. He isn't. Is Oleksandr Usyk going to fight Daniel Dubois? Now, of course, I've been hearing quite a few people, including Frank Warren and many other people, saying how Usyk is lining up a Deontay Wilder fight over in Saudi Arabia. Well, that can't happen. And the reason that can't happen is because mandatories have been fulfilled. As when I've done the Deontay Wilder video yesterday or the day before, whenever it was, I said to you, there's no way Wilder is going to fight Oleksandr Usyk unless Oleksandr Usyk vacates belts. And he would have to vacate all of his belts in order for that to happen. So he's only got the IBO and the Ring Magazine remaining. The reason being because all three, WBA, Daniel Dubois, IBF, Filip Perkovic, and WBO, Joe Joyce, all of them have been called. So even if somehow Daniel Dubois doesn't fight him next, then he's going to have to fight Perkovic. He's going to have to fight Joe Joyce. So there's no way around it unless Deontay Wilder can get himself into one of those three fellas' ring and beat him. That's the only way a Usyk fight can happen. So Daniel Dubois isn't going to make negotiations difficult like Tyson Fury has. He ain't going to do that. Why would he do that? For him, listen, he's going to get paid relatively well anyway, but it's a case of he wants to fight. He ain't afraid of Oleksandr Usyk. Should he be? No, of course he shouldn't be. He's facing a guy with two arms and two legs, albeit he's southpaw, and he's very, very skillful, and he does punch a bit too, okay? So Dubois does have a chance, and I can't foresee Dubois turning this particular fight down, and by all accounts, he's not going to be stepping aside. So this will be the fight that Oleksandr Usyk fights next, unless some kind of miracle happens and they get around the table talking about the Fury Undisputed fight again. But anyway, Dubois knocking out Oleksandr Usyk, you never know. I wouldn't favour him to do it, but hey, listen, maybe, just maybe, Dubois could become the next unified world heavyweight champion. Now, I know some people may point out the fact that when Dubois says nobody punches, or Usyk wouldn't have been punched by anybody as hard as me, well, he has. He's been in there with quite a few, as amateur and pro. Anthony Joshua will be one of them. He punches as hard as Dubois, if not harder. He's fought and defeated Joe Joyce in the amateurs and things like that. So, but there again, anything can and does happen on fight night. It can. So, let's wait, shall we? Drop your thoughts below, click thumbs up, subscribe. Catch you next video.